The UFC has 3 more events at the UFC Apex before heading over to Fight Island in July. The first of those Las Vegas events takes place tomorrow night, headlined by Jessica Eye taking on Cynthia Calvillo. And if this morning's weigh-ins are any indication, I don't know what the hell to expect tomorrow night. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the UFC on ESPN 10 preview show here on MMAfighting.com. I am Mike Heck. That is Jose Youngs joining us from Las Vegas. Jose, listen, this main event was met with a lot of criticism. We talked about this a lot of Between the Links, but at the end of the day, 2 things are for certain. 1, this fight is happening tomorrow night in the main event. And 2, despite what happened on the scales, this is still a pretty important fight for the women's flyweight division.
Well, it's not a flyweight fight anymore. It's a catchweight fight. So say, like, make of you that what you will. Like, Jessica misses weight for the second time in a row. It was 0.25, 0.2 over. What is really alarming to me is, yes, she missed weight, but I don't know if you guys heard through the broadcast, so I tweeted it out. She stepped off the scale and she says, "I'm done. I can barely walk right now." So regardless of making the weight, missing the weight, like health-wise, doesn't sound. It's not the best thing to hear. Getting off the scale is I can barely walk, or I don't think I can walk. So take the fighting out of the equation. It's just an alarming thing to hear a human being say stepping off the scale after making weight.
First of all, shame on you for actualing me on the first question of this preview show, or the first statement of this preview show. But that was one of the big questions heading into this event was the battle with the old scale, because each fighter had big weight misses in their last fight. And Calvillo's was at 115. Both women hit the scales. Calvillo actually looked pretty good, not having to cut those extra 10 pounds. And then I had the miss by 0.2. She went on Instagram, said she's fine, she's ready to go. And that if she had just gone to the bathroom and peed before she hit the scales, she probably would have made the weight. But you mentioned what she said, and she looked really rough watching that on the MMA Fighting live stream. Was she as bad as it looked on camera?
Well, obviously, I couldn't see physically behind the hoop of shame, as Casey calls it. But just so I basically saw from her neck up, and that was enough. She looked getting on the scale. She looked super stressed out and super nervous, just like deep breaths, like just hoping for the best. And as soon as they read the weight and she missed a weight, she had like sent this look of despair, or like just where she was just like, oh. Like just heartbroken that so I can't say she didn't try, because she looked like distraught that she missed weight. It really hit her hard. So yeah, bummer time all around for Jessica and her team.
As of now, the plan seems to be that Valentina's next title defense will be against Joanne Calderwood, and the UFC tried to book that fight. Valentina was forced to withdraw due to injury, and that seems to still be the plan. But as you know, Jose, especially in this sport, plans can change, and they can change very quickly. So with your vast wisdom and knowledge, I don't think I's clearly out of the picture, 1, because of the weight miss, and 2, because Valentina brutally knocked her out last year. It's probably way too soon to even put her in that conversation. But is there a scenario where Cynthia Calvillo could jump the queue and slide in there after tomorrow night?
No, definitely not. You got Roxanne Modafferi coming up next week. I think the winner of that fight gets the next title shot. And then you even have Jennifer Maia out there still fighting. I can't remember who she's fighting, or if it's even a flyweight. But no, I don't think there's a scenario where Cynthia Calvillo can skip the line. If anything, if Joanne Calderwood and Valentina Shevchenko isn't booked anytime soon, I'm hoping maybe on the August card or the September card. But if the fighters want to stay in shape, maybe Cynthia could fight the winner or the loser of Lauren Murphy and Roxanne Modafferi. But I don't think there's a scenario right now where Cynthia Calvillo skips the line, considering we don't even know. So we were talking about August. I was like, "Where's August going?" Like Dana was like, "Where's August? Where's the August fight going to be?" He goes, "I don't even know. We're trying. We're in a pandemic, so it's hard to even look ahead, because will we even have fights? Will fights fall out? When will Valentina fight? So who knows? But I don't think Valentina's I don't think there'll be a scenario where Cynthia skips the line.
I'm glad you mentioned Modafferi versus Murphy, because Dana White, before he went on and talked to you guys, he announced the fight cards for the 20th and the 27th. Modafferi versus Murphy is the second fight of the night. It's the second prelim fight, which is mind-blowing to me, considering how big of a fight that is.
It's that, like, where did he put Kalen Chukagian is like the number 1 ranked flyweight. Where was she? She was way early on the card. We had Perez and who was it? Formiga one of like top 5 flyweights in the world, and they were buried on the prelims too. So no, that would I would honestly be surprised if that was fair. If Chukagian wasn't, that was a fight night. Chukagian Shevchenko, and Antonina Shevchenko, like if it would have been more of a surprise if they put that fight on the main card, honestly. Just because like it deserves it. It should be co-main event, but it would surprise it doesn't surprise me whatsoever.
Yeah, there's still that's next week. We got to talk about this. There's so much to talk about. We got the co-main event. This is the fight that people are very excited about because of the bad blood between them, and it got escalated even further today. Marvin Vettori taking on Carl Roberson, but we had another hiccup on the scales. Carl Roberson misses weight again, and if you're not aware, Roberson missed weight ahead of UFC Jacksonville a couple of weeks ago by 1.5 pounds, and it forced him out of the fight. This time he misses by 4.5 pounds. This was pretty surprising considering he went on the virtual media day yesterday and said he figured it all out. He was adamant that he was good to go. And to add to that, Jose, he was one of the first ones to hit the scale this morning.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, like we talked about on this weigh-in stream, if I'm a fighter and I see my opponent like coming in right at the end with like 5 minutes left, they're still wet, they're still like they're sucked out, they missed by like 0.5, then maybe I'm like, all right, he tried or she tried as hard as she could. Like the respect is at least still there if she didn't come. Coming in early, like halfway through with an hour left and missing, was a la the Jeremy Stevens Calvin Kattar fight. Like coming in with a lot of time left and missing weight by that much, I don't know what else to say. Carl Roberson like talked a big game, but couldn't walk the walk. So yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for Marvin Vettori. I'm glad he gets to fight, but I feel bad that this is now the second time in a row Carl Roberson comes up too heavy against Marvin Vettori.
Yep, he's going to get 30% of Carl Roberson's purse. And in addition, Zaruke Adeshaf, I think that's his name. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. UFC newcomer is he's set to face Tyson Nam tomorrow night. He missed weight by 2.5 pounds. He's going to forfeit 20% of his purse to Tyson Nam. And Derek Minner announced earlier today during the weigh-ins itself that he is out of his fight with Jordan Griffin due to falling ill during his weight cut. Griffin made weight successfully, so he should get his show money for sure. But back to the co-main event, Jose. Vettori has won his last 2 fights since that split decision loss to Israel Adesanya. Roberson got that vet lesson from Glover Teixeira at UFC Brooklyn last January, but he's bounced back with back-to-back wins in his own right. This fight was supposed to happen in Jacksonville, like we said, before Roberson had that weight cutting issue that forced him out of the fight. We saw the lobby video where Vettori was just absolutely irate with him, and now he misses again. But to me, like this fight already was escalated in a big way, but much like the Roosevelt Roberts Brock Weaver fight, this one is even more big and more exciting in terms of how the fans view it than it was, say, 5 or 6 hours ago. I
mean, agreed. Because would we be talking about this fight if they had fought like heading into the Jacksonville fight card? Like, yeah, that fight it's an important fight for their careers and like it's a good fight. But are we talking about it this much? If the weight cut with Roberson went smoothly in Jacksonville, it's just another fight on a card. It's a good fight, but it's not stealing the headlines. And then as soon as that outburst happens, it was already like, oh, we have to rebook it. And then he misses again. It's like the main event is a big deal, but I think Vettori Roberson is people have a lot of, even when they miss, people were tweeting me like, when's the stare down? When's the stare down? When's the stare down? I can't wait for the stare down. And then the stare down was nothing. It was just like Marvin Vettori looking in who is it? Patrick Bateman eyes at him, just bugged out. So that no shoving or anything like that, but you could tell people are at least excited to see these two get their hands on one another.
In one of the crazier stories of the week, Merab Dvalishvili was supposed to fight Ray Borg in the featured bout on this card, and it looks like he's now one half of the featured prelim, but he has a new opponent on 48 hours notice. Ray Borg had a family emergency, had to withdraw from the fight. Our thoughts obviously go out to Ray because family indeed trumps fighting and always will, but stepping in is Gustavo Lopez. And what a story this became because he was the Combate Americas Bantamweight champion. Campbell McLaren, the president of Combate Americas, tweets out yesterday that Lopez was still under contract with the promotion. And even Lopez's manager, Daniel Rubenstein, admitted that he didn't particularly dot his I's or cross his T's, which I thought was pretty admirable. But in the end, as I reported Wednesday evening, Combate Americas grants his release, and he is good to go to fight Merab tomorrow night at 140-pound catchweight bout. But man, what a crazy couple of hours that transpired probably as you were heading to Vegas. But as you know, Lopez, very exciting guy. He's won his last 3, but man, what a tough draw to debut against Merab Dvalishvili.
It's the worst possible matchup for him. Like, I've seen Lopez fight a few times on the Combate America circuit, especially when they're on the Phoenix. I think I saw one of his original. I couldn't remember the exact date, but there was like some confusion where he was again a late minute opponent. So he didn't get to fight for the title, but good fighter, exciting fighter. But Merab is unbelievable. Like, he's one of those guys where he wins and he's going to be like 15-10 somewhere ranked there. No one's going to want to fight him because he's clearly better than his ranking, but he doesn't put on those like epic wars. I'm not comparing him to Khabib. Let me put it there, because I think Khabib's on another level, but it's one of those situations where like you have this Dagestani or in Merab's case, Georgian fighter who is just going to dominate you and you're going to look terrible against it. And you're risking a lot for someone that's low ranked. That's clearly unbelievable. So yeah, it's that circle that fight. Just see Merab take the next, get another win, because I assume he will, and really put that division on notice as someone that he's gonna cause a lot of problems in that division.
Casey Kenny is a legit bantamweight prospect, a legit up and comer, and he tossed Casey Kenny around like a rag.
It wasn't even close.
It wasn't crazy. Close. Did not expect that at all. I already know what your answer to this question is going to be already, but I'm going to take it away from you because I don't think Andre Fili versus Charles Jourdain is under the radar at all heading into this card. What a great matchup that's going to be. But other than that, let's dig a little deeper. What is your under the radar fight heading into tomorrow night?
It's a good question. That's a very good question. The Charles Rosa fight, I'm really excited for. Just because selfishly, New Englander and Charles Rosa is looking to bounce back. I think, what is it? He fought 35 days ago or something crazy like that. And you're like, lately everyone's getting just mandatory 30 fight or 30-day suspensions. So it's like he's cutting it real close. He really needs to erase that last performance against Bryce Mitchell, considering Charles Rosa talked a lot about his grappling and how good he was and declared himself the best grappler at 145 pounds. And you saw what happened against Bryce Mitchell. Now this isn't a 145. I think he bumped up in weight a little bit because of not a time to cut weight and train. But yeah, I'll circle the Charles Rosa fight. I'm always excited to watch him fight.
Yeah, that's a good one. And they're fighting at 55 he's fighting Kevin Aguilar, and the UFC must have felt the same way we did, Jose, because it got bumped up.
The Christian Aguilera fight, I'm really excited for, only because I've covered a lot of his fights in LFA, and he seems to be one of those guys where when I'd interview him on the regional circuit, he would be like, if I win tonight, I'm going to the UFC, and he would always come up short or just not have the greatest performance. So then his next fight is like he wins 2 more, and then he's, if I win this, I'm going to the UFC, and then it never worked out for him. So to see him in the UFC, just because I've seen his journey here, it will be. I'm not saying he'll win or lose, but it's good to see him finally in there, because that contract meant a lot to him.
Absolutely. He's fighting Anthony Ivy, who is an absolute finisher. He's
yet to go again. That's a rough card to pull for your UFC debut that you've been working so hard for.
Unreal. That guy's never gotten to a decision in his entire career. So I don't expect that to happen here. But Christian Aguilera is a guy with a ton of potential coming out of LFA and on the regional scene over there. He's won 2 straight heading into this fight. Should be a fun one to kick off tomorrow night's card. I'm actually very excited to see Julia Avila. She's one of the fighters a lot of people are very excited about at 135. She gets to make her sophomore walk tomorrow night against the returning Gina Mazzani. And I have to say, if you guys haven't watched What the Heck yet, watch my interview with Gina Mazzani. She tells like the craziest story about her UFC release. Like, she didn't even know she was released 7 months after the fact. It took her talking to a different manager who now manages her now, obviously, to find out that she wasn't on the card. She kept going to the PI and getting all the treatment and stuff, but like Mick Maynard didn't have the heart to tell her she had been released because they were kind of like messing around with her. It was just such a crazy story. Go check that out. But Jose, it is crazy, man. Go check that out. But Jose, you've been logging those miles like Magellan, bro. So go get some food, get some rest. Of course, he will be on site tomorrow night. We will be bringing you all things UFC Vegas 2 before, during, and after this event. So keep it locked to MMAfighting.com to stay up to date on everything. For Jose Youngs in Las Vegas, I am Mike Heck. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
I can't believe you compared me to Magellan. Terrible explorer to pick.